Like this one. I hope you're not missing this one. It's Pet Talk right now. Dr. Lucas Candifer is with us, our local vet. We're going to be talking about when people decide on giving up a pet. When might that happen, and then what you should do. Dustin Yerman is with us, our volunteer from the Buffalo Animal Shelter, and he's here with a really nice dog. This is Maple?
Maple, yes.
Maple. Hiya, Maple. Maple's only 11 months old?
She's 11 months old.
She's a good dog.
She was just surrendered to the shelter about a week ago. Unfortunately, her owner had a change in lifestyle and could not keep her. Maple is supposedly housebroken and knows some basic commands. She's very sweet. She's a little shy at first, but she really it only takes 5 minutes for her to warm up and become very loving. So
when this dog's already been brought up in a home, so that you're that much further ahead if you adopt Maple, because that's where she's used to living.
An 8-week-old puppy is a lot different to raise than an 11-month-old puppy. You know that yourself.
Oh yeah. She's doing great, and she's healthy and ready to go.
Yes, she'll be spayed when she's adopted. She's fully vaccinated and microchipped. All that's included in the adoption fee. So hopefully
Maple,
we'll find her a good home soon.
Yeah, Maple will probably.
She's a mixed breed. It's a best guess scenario. Her paperwork says pit bull coonhound mix. I don't know if I see coonhound in her. She's a little small. Maybe some sort of beagle, and maybe, I don't know. It could be anything.
Great temperament.
Very gentle.
Yeah, very gentle. Very, very loving.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
And again, somebody had to give up Maple, and we're talking about that today. Deciding
and then our two dogs that were surrendered last week were adopted immediately.
Oh,
yes.
good. Together?
Yes,
together. Good. I'm so glad. Thank you out there. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yes, within hours of the
Hopefully
segment. Not even an hour, I think. They were.
Oh, fantastic. Let's talk about that gut-wrenching decision.
No, and it's a difficult decision. Nobody goes into the decision of making a purchase or going to the shelter and adopting an animal with the idea that they might have to someday give them up.
Yeah.
But just like Dustin said, sometimes there's a change of lifestyle. Especially if you're not set with where you're living and you're going from apartment to apartment, you may find that you have to leave one and you can't take your pet with you into the next. And it can be really difficult to find a place that does accept a large dog or even cats sometimes. So it's something where doing your research and knowing what you're getting into. These aren't commitments. A pet's not just a pet for Christmas. When you do adopt a pet, this is a lifetime commitment, and there's a lot of things that come along with it. And it's not just they're coming to you to be pet here and there. They've got medical care, they've got needs. That we have to feed them appropriately. And we do have to exercise them. And a lot of the times, what we see is that dogs, Maple's size, we find that they're too much for some people. If you don't have the lifestyle that says we can go out and we can take this dog for a run, we can get it to the dog park or get it to doggy daycare, they're going to have problems at home, and a lot of the behavioral issues are because they're bored. They don't have the mental stimulation, and the number one reason that we see pets returned to the shelter or brought to the shelter is behavioral problems. And a lot of it stems from the fact that if we're just not able to care for them properly, we're doing them a disservice. So it's a gut-wrenching decision to be able to say, I just can't care for my pet properly anymore. It's difficult, but we have to think of that as what's best for my pet. Not always, I don't want to do this because I'm going to feel bad about it. If we have a dog or a cat that's going to be suffering, whether it's mentally or physically, that's not right for them, and we have to make those choices.
And Dustin, you've told us that sometimes that's the best thing for the animal, because at least somebody is doing something responsible by getting them to the shelter or to the SPCA, not just disposing of them by opening the door.
Yes, there's you hear so many horror stories of Craigslist and giving away pets, and unfortunately, a lot of times I'll read the surrender profiles of the dogs, and they've been pushed around 3 or 4 times to different houses. People keep moving them around. So by adopting from a shelter, you're going to get the dog will be fully vaccinated, spayed, and neutered at a much cheaper cost than actually going to a vet, because it's all done at a discounted price. So there are advantages to adopting from a shelter and surrendering the dog to the shelter. With surrendering a dog, it's always important to be honest about all the dog's issues, so it can be the most responsible placement and stuff like that. And with surrendering a dog, I've learned over 10 years of volunteering, instead of being judgmental about it, you should listen to the people and understand this is what's best for the pet. Sometimes you end up with older people who have these high energy dogs and just they cannot handle them, or you're just never home. And then you have to think about what's best for this dog, to be at a shelter for a week and then find a home, or to living in a home where no one is there, no stimulation, and living in a crate. So sometimes what's best for the dog is to be surrendered.
We got our first one of our first pets through a divorce. It was like nobody had custody of the dog. Like you say, they're just separating, so they're probably going into apartment situations. And it was sad because they had a family, but they couldn't take the family dog.
A good friend of my family, he had a Labrador. The idea was to try and make sure that it was around the family, and his wife started to have issues, and he just couldn't home care for his wife. He wasn't able to care for his dog appropriately, and he'd had Labradors a number of times, and they're great. And you get one Labrador that just likes to sit by the fire and do nothing, and another Labrador that is as high energy as you can get. And he had to make that decision of, this isn't the right place for this dog. I can't care for it properly. And I know he loved the dog, but it's something where he made the right choice for them, and we see it with cats a lot. Unfortunately, is that a lot of people say, I'm just going to let my cat live outdoors. And not every cat is able to live outdoors. It's something where they've gotten used to the life inside. They're 5 years old. You can't just say, that looks like a good, nice barn. Let's go ahead and drop them off. And I've got a number of clients that come in and they're bringing in, a pet another cat every month because they finally caught one that someone dropped off, and that's not the right lifestyle for them. And the one thing I always want to make sure people know is that there are a huge number of shelters and rescues out there, more so than you may ever think. A lot of the times we've got a black dog rescue, or this is a golden retriever rescue, where a lot of the times the smaller ones are more specific, and we take care of these. My friends got their dog through a Vizsla rescue. There are so many focused rescues that if you do your research and say what is the best way to find a placement for my pet, it can really help.
And we haven't even discussed too, if there's a good chance that your pet will outlive you, what is your plan for your pet?
We do discuss that when people adopt from the shelter, and a lot of times there's clauses of your child will be taking this dog, or this is going to go.
Have a plan.
I also think when you're younger, think about this. This dog has the potential to live 15 to 16 years. Where are you going to be in 5 years?
Where
are
you
going to be in 10 years?
We have to stop there, guys, because we are out of time. But Maple is available over at the Buffalo Animal Shelter. Think though, before you adopt. But remember, your best friend could be there waiting for you. Thanks, everybody.